Alright, so today we are doing verifying trigonometric functions. Our problem is tan x, parentheses, cot x, plus tan x, parentheses, equals secant x. So your first step that you want to do is you want to figure out which side is going to be the easiest, or actually the hardest one to simplify. So you've got your left hand side and you got your right hand side. Left hand side is the one you want to go with here because you're actually able to simplify stuff. So the first step you want to do is you tan x. All right, I want to rewrite tan x, and we know that cot x is equal to 1 over tan x, and then you've got tangent x equals secant x, or squared x. What this allows is you have something in common here, and so what this allows you to do is to take this and basically want to multiply it to everything, and then you know that tangent plus tangent is going to equal, so your second step is going to be 1 plus tangent x squared equals secant x squared. Alright, so you see that we got this right here because tangent x plus tangent x equals tangent x squared, and one came from right here. This just kind of crossed out. Step 3 is you know that tangent x squared is actually equal to sine 2 over sine cosine, so 1 plus sine 2x, or sine squared x over cosine squared x is equal to secant squared x. So what you want to do now, since you have a 1 here, you want to do because you have a fraction and you have a common denominator, you want to just go ahead and spread that denominator out to all of the other problems. Now I'm gonna go ahead, I got enough room here. All right, so you got your step number 5. So your step number 5 is all right, and the reason we got that is because the sign cancels out, and then this right here is going to equal 1 over cosine x equals secant x, or secant squared x. And if you remember in your final step that 1 over cosine x squared is equal to secant x squared equals secant x, or secant squared x. All right, you good?
Alright, today our problem is tan squared x times cosine squared x equals 1 minus cosine squared x. Alright, first thing you gotta do is figure out which side is the hardest. So we're gonna go with our left hand side. It's our right hand side. We're trying to get this side to equal this side. So our first step. We're just gonna write this down. All right. We know that we can make this into tan squared x. We can make this into 1 minus sine squared x equals 1 minus squared x. So basically all we did was change cosine to 1 minus sine squared x. Okay, next step. Okay, so now we can change this tan here to sine squared, because it's square right here, x over cosine x. And we can change this back to make it easier. So we'll change that back to cosine squared. And then it equals 1 minus cosine. Step number 3. Now we can cancel out these two. We can cancel out that, and that leaves us with sine squared x equals 1 minus cosine x. Okay, so all we did was cancel these two out. All right, step number 4. Step number 4. Now all we do is change this from the Pythagorean identity. We can make this 1 minus cosine squared x, and our right hand side was 1 minus cosine squared x. So they're equal. So that's the answer.
Alright, so our problem today is tan x times sine x equals 1 over cosine x squared over cosine x. Alright, so the first thing you always want to do is you always want to rewrite your equation. Alright, step number 2. You want to figure out which side is going to be the hardest one, and the reason that is it'll allow you to be easier when it's simplified. So you got your left hand side, you got your right hand side. All right. So you usually always want to go with the one that's got a fraction in it. It just makes it a little bit easier. So step 2 is you want to figure out something that would allow them to have something in common. All right, so you know that 1 over cosine x, or 1 minus cosine x, you know that is sin squared, thanks to the Pythagorean identities. And then you just rewrite cosine x at the bottom. All right, and since you have a common denominator here, and you have sine squared, you need to break that sine squared up. So and the reason for the 1 is because you only have one cosine, so the 1 just kind of moves over. All right, so step number 4 is you know that that sine over cosine is equal to tangent, thanks to the Pythagorean identities, and that 1, and then sine over 1, thanks to the quotient identities, is tangent is sine. So you have tangent x times sine x is equal to tangent x times sine x. And there's your answer.
Alright, today our problem is sine squared x multiplied by cosecant squared x plus secant squared x equals secant squared x. Alright, the first step is to, we can change this right here. So basically first, what we really need to do is figure out which side is the most complicated, and that's our left side. So that's the side we're going to be simplifying. So we got sine squared x okay. So what we need to do is simplify this right here. So what we would do is bring sine squared x down. We basically will multiply everything by sine squared x. So that'll be, let me erase that right there. So that would be sine squared x times cosecant squared x plus sine squared x. Sine squared x times secant squared x. Okay, so like I said, what we did was multiply everything. We distribute sine squared x to cosecant and secant. Okay, so now we can change this and this. So that will give us sine squared x times 1 over sine squared x plus sine squared x over 1 cosine squared x. Okay, the two signs will cancel out, and that will leave us with cosine squared x over x plus sine squared x over cosine squared x. Okay, so now this is gonna cancel out and just leave 1 plus sine squared x over cosine. So basically all we did was cancel those two out. After canceling those two out, we were left with 1 plus sine squared x over squared x. Okay, and our main goal is to try to get this right here. Okay, so that'll be equal to, after you distribute this, that'll be sine squared x over cosine squared x, and that'll just be 1 over cosine squared. And as we know, 1 over cosine is equal to secant squared x, and it's equal